Hello everyone, my name is Chintan Shah and today we are going to be talking about IPMAT Rohtak and everything that you need to know from the application till the interviews. There are going to be 5 main agendas today. We'll start with the paper pattern, follow it up with the syllabus. The third thing will be the eligibility criteria. The fourth will be cutoffs or the numbers game, and the fifth part will be your entire selection procedure along with the important dates. Talking about the paper pattern, IPMAT Rohtak is a 2-hour exam with 120 questions divided across 3 sections: verbal ability, quantitative ability and logical reasoning. Each section has 40 questions each, but take a note that there is no sectional time limit. The marking scheme is that you get +4 for a correct answer, -1 for an incorrect one, but there are no negatives for leaving a question. Coming to the syllabus. Under verbal ability, you have a wide array of topics, but from the past 2 or 3 years, the kind of questions that have been asked have predominantly been from 3 streams. The first of which is reading comprehensions. You have roughly 7 to 8 questions under reading comprehensions, followed by vocabulary with questions from synonyms, antonyms, idioms, phrases, etc. The last part comes from grammar or verbal ability with a lot of questions coming from error spotting and sentence completion. Coming to quantitative aptitude, the major part comes from 1 out of the 5, which is arithmetic, algebra, geometry, numbers and modern math. Out of the 5, your predominant player has always been arithmetic, with a lot of questions coming from time, speed, distance, time and work, percentages, averages, ratio proportion, profit and loss and so on. Apart from arithmetic, there are a lot of questions that are asked from PNC, which is permutation combination, probability, numbers and a few questions from algebra. Coming to logical reasoning, again there are 3 main players which play a part under logical reasoning out of all the topics that you have. The first of which is arrangement, linear and circular. The second part is from critical reasoning, which is statements, assumptions, conclusions. The third part comes from series coding and decoding. So these are the main type of questions where most of the questions have been asked from the past 2 or 3 years. The third part that we'll talk about is the eligibility criteria. Now, if you belong in one out of general category, NC/OBC or EWS, the academic requirement for y'all is that you need to have at least 60% weightage in your 12th or an equivalent exam. If you belong to SC, ST or PWD, then you require a slightly lesser score, which is only 55%. Now, a very important part to be noted here is that your 60% or your 55% is always going to be considered as a best of 5 irrespective whichever board you belong to. So unlike a few other exams where you have an aggregate score being considered, here it is specifically taken as a best of 5. Apart from that, the second eligibility criteria that you have is that you have to be at most 20 years of age at the time of giving the exam. If you do not clear the age barrier, you won't be eligible, which means any student who's going to be clearing their 12th board exams or any equivalent exams by the time of the exam is eligible. At the same time, you have to be at most 20 years of age. Now, here comes the most important part, which is the numbers game or the cutoffs. Let's break it down first. So let's understand the basic numbers. For IPM Rohtak, you have a total of 180 seats, plus an additional 10% seats for your EWS category, which brings your total number to 198. The second important number are your cutoffs. If we look at a trend in the cutoffs for the general category students, in 2021, the cutoff was 265. In 2022, this number rose to 306. But in 2023, this number shot up and went up till 409. Now, considering that the maximum marks that you can score is 480, 409 surely seems like a big score because the margin of error that you have is slightly lesser and it's just 18 questions, considering there are no negatives. Now, when you're playing with this, the main problem that becomes is maintaining your accuracy. Going further deep into this particular category, if you look at the total number of applicants to the total number of people who've given the exam, there were slightly above 15,000 people who gave the exam, but around 14,000, to be precise, 13,954 people who gave the exam, out of which there were 731 people who were shortlisted. Now, understand this. There are 198 seats 731 people are shortlisted for your interviews, which more or less brings your ratio to 1:4, which means that for every 4 students that are shortlisted, only 1 person is getting the admission. So if you think that you've gotten a shortlist, means your admission is all but confirmed. Now let's go deeper. Considering only the general category, there were 323 people who were shortlisted. From the 180 seats that you have, there's a fixed 40% ratio that is removed out for the general category students. Now, to 40% of 180 comes to 72. 72 people are going to be shortlisted from 323, which is again a 1:4 ratio. So this ties very well with what your original ratio was. Now we are specifically talking about the general category because our majority audience belongs to that category. So all in all, what you've got to understand is that your exam is not the end of the world. You have to do better even after that, because the whole point is you have to be better than 3 more people or 4 more people, and the ratio stays consistent. So that is more or less what you need to know with respect to the numbers. But what is the procedure? How do you get into IPM Rohtak? Let's understand that in the last part, which is your selection criteria and selection procedure. Your process starts by the time you fill your application form. The application fees last year was 4,175. Could be the same, could change as well this year. The applications open anywhere around January, February, March. Your exam is conducted in the month of May. Considering that IPMAT Indore has been preponed, your IPM Rohtak this year, IPMAT Rohtak this year could also be preponed by a week or so. So expect your exam dates to be anywhere around 10th to 15th of May. After your exam is done and let's say you clear the cutoffs, you're shortlisted for the interview round, you qualify for that and the interviews happen anywhere around the first week of June to the third week of June. After that, they again take around 15 days to month and the final shortlist is given out in July. Now, there are 3 phases: the IPMAT exam, then the interviews, and then the third part that we've not yet spoken about is our academics. Let's understand the weightage out of these 3 phases. If you get a very good score in your IPMAT exam, it's a very big plus for you because it has 45% weightage, followed by a meager 15% weightage for your personal interviews. And then the remaining 40% is divided equally, which is 20% for your 10th standard and 20% for your 12th standard. Which means at this current state, you have 2 things in your hand: 45% from your IPMAT and 20% from your 12th boards, which is 65%, which means the ball is still in your court. If you're able to do very well in your exam and your 12th boards, you already have 1 foot in the college. So this is the weightage for the 3 different rounds. The last part that we'll talk about is the fees. The fees slightly seem steeper because it is 5.5 lakhs per year for the first 3 years of your IPM, and then let's say you manage to get into the MBA part as well, it is almost around 17 to 18 lakhs, which brings your total investment to roughly 34 to 35 lakhs over the entire 5 years. Now, this looks like a huge amount, but consider the returns. You get an MBA from one of the most prestigious colleges, and your placements happen with the people who are also graduating from an MBA. So although the investment is high, the return is going to be higher. And that is exactly what you're looking for. Thank you.